Now I have seen the Cabin Fever remake, and I do plan to review it, but it's going to take a while to get through that stinker. So instead, let's get a few that might be a little bit quicker to review, and let's start it off with Backtrack. Now Backtrack is an Australian film starring Adrien Brody. In this film, Adrien Brody is a psychiatrist, but he has recently lost his daughter. He's depressed, detached, he's not feeling himself. Well, late one night, a girl comes to see him and she can't speak, and she's a bit odd.
Hold on. Listen to me. I want you to try and speak, okay? What is it? What's out there?
It isn't long before he starts to put things together that maybe she's not really alive but a ghost. It starts a crazy chain of events which lead him backtracking to a previous trauma during his childhood. And a bunch of ghosts will not leave him alone until he makes things right. That's the basic premise of Backtrack, and I have to say the premise is quite solid. Yes, there are definitely things here and there that have been done before, and it is a mystery more than anything else, and I thought all the twists and turns were nice and enjoyable. Pretty much all of them I predicted except for one of them, but they were still entertaining and kept me interested nonetheless. Also, all the acting was decent. None of them felt like they were phoning it in, and not even our big stars, Adrien Brody and Sam Neill. A lot of the things I noticed with Adrien Brody with a lot of his movies, no matter how low budget or cheaply made or no matter how big budget it is, he does give a performance. He never tries to skimp out, at least none that I have seen. And so I do respect him for that. There's one thing about this movie that makes it a bad film. And it's this one thing that gets overused, and it's more annoying than ever, making it cancel out some of the decent premise and some of the decent things I actually liked about the film. It's the scares. And yes, it is a supernatural mystery more than anything else, but just like anything supernatural, it feels, oh, we need to have jump scares. We need to have some scares because it's supernatural. We can't just have it be a supernatural mystery. We gotta make things creepy and scary. So what happens? They use all the generic jump scares in the book. Literally, name a generic jump scare that is used so often that it's become cliche. It is in this movie. Oh, you know what? There's a scene that I actually liked in this movie that turns from good to bad. There's a scene where Adrien Brody thinks, okay, he's done with the ghosts, he's appeased them, he's got the guilt off of his chest. And so he starts burning this newspaper, but then it doesn't burn. And it's a clipping of this traumatic event, and so around this time you know, the ghosts aren't done with him. We still got about 30 minutes left of the film, man. And so he hears this door banging, and so he goes to investigate because it's very similar to this door that keeps banging at his own home. You know what? He gets locked in the closet, and the ghost inside, know what she does? She impersonates the Grudge. Yeah, that's the kind of things this movie's willing to do. It's some really generic, copycat, cliched stuff. It's just one of the examples that this film does that irritates me. It's really aggravating because it feels like this movie actually had some potential. Now, even without those jump scares, there are a few things I didn't necessarily like about the film. While I understand he's going to see the ghost of his dead daughter, because he is a little haunted by that as well, whenever it showed the ghost of the daughter, it really felt out of place because it wasn't like fully developed. It's more along the lines of just a backstory and a trigger in order for him to start seeing ghosts that eventually start haunting him because of something in the past. And so when she shows up, it just seems so random and just meaningless. Because ultimately the movie's not focused on that, it's focused on something else in his past. Now, I did like the cop in this movie. She was really good. I liked her character and I liked her, but I do have some issues with the ending. Now, I won't go into spoilers in case you want to see this movie. I'll tell my issues with the ending at the end after my rating. Backtrack, it just feels like it had a good premise, it had potential, but it's squandered by generic jump scares, unoriginal, cliched generic jump scares that are so overdone. And a few little issues I had with the story, but other than that, it could have been a good film. But unfortunately, because it's not really that good of a film, I'm going to give Backtrack 2 stars. Anyways, this is the spoiler alert now. Think about the ending that I didn't really like that much. It felt like it could have gotten away if it cut it sooner. Like, there's this really nice scene where Adrien Brody realizes exactly what has happened in the past. You see, something happened during his childhood, some horrible, tragic accident, and he's misremembering what exactly happened. And so most of the movie is him trying to recall what exactly happened and these ghosts helping him out, while also threatening him. And so there's a scene where he figures it out, and the cop that he's been talking to figures it out as well. They find it out at the exact same time. They figure it out. But they're in separate scenes. He's over by these train tracks, and she's at his father's house, who turns out the father had something to do with it. He did something else that Adrien Brody saw, which ended up causing the train accident. Anyway, the scene could have ended with the cop confronting the father, saying, "I know what you did," and stuff, showing this proof and stuff, and he goes, "Well, I keep my same statement," and she goes, "Well, I think your son knows it too." While at the same time we're having Adrien Brody realize the entire thing. The whole recollection could have been the resolution to the movie. It could have had the cop and the father still sitting at the table and them basically waiting for Adrien Brody to come. And because now we know that Adrien Brody knows, we can assume that he's going to testify and the guy's going to go to jail. It could have been a nice open ending, and then we could have had that scene at the end with them on the beach, and so you have this little resolution with the daughter as well. But this is the kind of movie that feels like, okay, we need some big climax, and so it does it in a way that's kind of bad though. Not only that, it really feels like the ghosts do most of the work. Like, there's some weird, crazy stuff that happens. Instead of just giving up and waiting for the son, the father, of course, lashes out at the cop, knocks her out, puts her in the trunk. Adrien Brody comes home, but he knocks Adrien Brody out and puts him in the car as well. As the father's driving, he sees the ghost girl in the middle of the road. He swerves, and for some reason, it doesn't say it in the movie. It doesn't really give any clues to what happened, so I'm assuming the ghost did it because Adrien Brody was unconscious. And the door suddenly swings open, and he, rolls out of the car. Just unconscious. He rolls out of the car. Then, as you'd expect, the car stalls on the train tracks, and a train is coming. Now, Adrien Brody does save the girl by shooting the trunk, getting her out, and then pushing her out of the way just in time before the train hits them. While the person who really kills the father is the ghost, because she pulls him into the car and keeps him in as the train hits the car. Which, surprisingly, the train does not derail, which is kind of weird. But then again, I'm not an expert on train crashes, so I don't know, there's something about that ending that I didn't like as much, and it didn't feel as gratifying. Anyway, did you see Backtrack? What did you think about it? Go ahead and comment. If not, what is your favorite supernatural mystery, if you know any? As always, this is Bruce Gifford, and this was just my opinion.